Hi YouTube, Mojismo Eugene, another video from Exit Strategy. Welcome. I want to discuss to you guys a story about when I was excommunicated by the twins' mom back in 2009, 2010, I believe it was, yeah, 2010. And I got involved for a short period of time with a girl in that moment. And it was a few months after, maybe, I don't know, 6 months after, could have been a little bit less or more, how when I didn't understand exactly the totality of what the twins' mom was going through, and I hadn't gotten myself in a position where I should have even been in another relationship, I happened upon this individual. She ended up out of the gate telling me she was bipolar, such as the same thing the twins' mom told me. Now, this will play out in this story a little bit later or in a few minutes. I meet this girl. She's biracial, mixed, black, white. Her dad's black, her mom's white. Never met her mom. I think I met her mom maybe one time, but her mom was certified fruitcake, from what she tells me. The mulatto girl tells me. She tells me she don't have a relationship with her mom, but she stayed with her dad when I met her. And this is a grown woman, probably, I don't know, 30, 35 maybe when I met her. And so I meet her. We start, we hit it off. Actually, I met her. I was driving around collecting just metal off the side of the road for redemption. And so I'd seen something sitting there like a stereo system, and not that I was actually going to get it, but it just seemed to me it's something that looked like it was in decent shape. Well, I was might throw it out. And so I was just kind of observing it for a few seconds, and she walked out on the porch and say, "Oh, you want that? You can have it." And that was a no-brainer. It's on the side of the road. So I'm trying to show you where this individual came out, made their presence known. Now looking back, I know that this is what this was. But I looked up to her, at her on the porch, and I was like, no, I was just checking it out. And lo and behold, man, this girl was beautiful. And so just her body language and the way she was like swaying her body, you can tell that she had came out there for her little stage presence. And it worked. And I walked up to the porch because I wanted to get a closer look, and I was just kind of, making small talks like, "Hey, you live here?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I've been living here in the city." And this is what happens with me, and has happened with me in several relationships, short term as they were, looking back. And you guys will be able to relate to this. If you relate to this, I want to hear this in the comment. It is always these individuals where you've never seen them, been living here 20 something years in this city. And what I said to her, I say, "I've never seen you, and I take this street all the time." This is the same exact thing I said to this third wife I married, who ends up, I discovered, is a covert narcissist. Now, I'm looking back at this story, which is way before this third marriage. This is back in 2010, as I said, shortly after the twins' mom. She had me kicked out of that. Twins' mom had me kicked out on some false, frivolous, you know what, and you know how that plays out. And 14 years later, they're still doing whatever they do best or worse. So I meet this girl, chop it up with her, and we begin to talk, exchange numbers, and I end up, we went out to eat, this and that. And now looking back, I now know that this whole conversation with this girl from the time I met her was narcissist. From the time we went to dinner, they have this ridiculous, childish smirk, smile, laughter that is so unusual. It's not like anything you've experienced with, just like, say, a normal human being or narcissist. The maturity or the lack thereof is just that of a 3-year-old. You can look at these people and tell that they are so excited that they are, seems to be like, to me, that they're eating a nice meal. And I look back and I now know from all the information I've gathered over the years, that meal with you is almost like a first meal for them all over again. They've had this dinner with somebody before. They've had somebody possibly take them out. But they forget that person. And maybe they just associate that with the idealization of the past supply. Whatever the case is, you will notice this. This is distinct. So we're sitting there, we're eating. They don't look at you. When they do look at you and they ask you questions, it's almost like skepticism questions. Like, I bet you take all the girls out like this, don't you? I ain't the only one. What they're trying to do is see how loyal you're going to be to them. They don't really care about if you are, they're not asking the question for the reasons that you and I may ask them. And we probably wouldn't even ask a question in that context, in that manner. It is something we would sincerely ask you. We would ask you that in time. We would ask you that in a way where it would make sense. It wouldn't be a part of a conversation on the first date. And so they need to know how secure you're going to be for them. So they're interviewing you, pretty much. They're interviewing you for the job placement that they're going to put you in, for the position. They need you to play this role. They need you to read this script verbatim. They need to know that you're not going to get out of character. And they need to know that you're going to play by their rules. And so we're eating the dinner. We get to know each other. We have intimacy a few times. And I'm going to tell you, looking back, I thought this girl was all that, bag of chips and a soda on the side. Soft drink, whatever you call it. And so I just thought she was it, man. I was like, what is the chances of me getting out of this hell of a relationship and just happen upon somebody such as this girl? And I actually kind of shared that. I said, man, the chances are, and she was telling me had been in a bad relationship. So everything I was saying, she was matching it. And I was like, man, like two big buddies burning in clouds. Like, man, the chances of this, boy, they gonna hate us when they see us together. This is me. They gonna hate us when they see us together. And we were just laughing and smiling and going along about our business. Little did I know that this person would have that last laugh. And so went through a little short ordeal with her, whereas she would always start arguments out of nowhere. And I attribute this to the borderline personality behavior. And so, or her saying she had bipolar, this very well could have been the case, because a lot of this is underlining disorders of the narcissism in them, is what I've found. No doctor, no scientist, no psychologist here, but just from based on my own observation and interaction. This is what I will always believe. Damn, however they feel about what they feel, I experienced this, so that's what I'm speaking from. I think the underlying problem was narcissism, and all of those other things were just residual effects of the narcissism. So she would have these debates and arguments, and that's why I was able to disengage with this individual that I speak about in the videos as of a few years ago, that I was involved with, that's also borderline personality disorder, because I was able to recognize it based on the information and education that I've garnered over the years. But this situation here in 2010 with this girl was a lot more magnified than the one of most recent. So going back to the story, she would get in these debates and blah, 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 and she would make up frivolous. I think she called the police on me. It was kind of like, this would be the conversation. Oh, you gonna do this, or you ain't gonna? Oh, I ain't gonna do this, blah, blah. Hey, are you gonna do this? Are you gonna leave? Would tell me to leave. When we had got an apartment together, she was like, oh, you gonna leave? You gonna leave? I'm gonna call the police. And one particular occasion, she called the police. I didn't even think she was serious. Called the police because what the conversation was, she was actually trying to leverage control over the conversation. And when I would speak, I would say, well, that's your opinion. I'm not buying into that. That's your perspective. Oh, you want to argue. You want to argue. So she would draw and pull and extract things out of a conversation that was supposed to be a pretty healthy debate or disagreement. People not agreeing on the same thing. She would try to force me to either shut the conversation up or she would call the police. You stressing me out. So call the police this particular time. She did. They came and I'm calm because I'm like, wow, when the cops get here, I'm not upset. She seems to want all jacked up. I'm not even concerned. Plus, where am I going to go? I'm in a situation whereas I'm already done went through something with the twins' mom. I really am not going to even I'm not gonna push any type of issue on with the other. I don't have a problem with her. She has a problem with me. So they come, they talk to us, and I was like, basically tell them exactly what I just said, and they're like, obviously she's upset, blah blah. I said, well, she's upset because I'm not agreeing with anything she's saying, and furthermore, these are arguments that she creates out of nowhere. And I think I might have alluded to the fact that she said to me that she has bipolar. So me looking back, when you tell the police or you tell judges that these people have these disorders or mental health issues, I now know without a shadow of a doubt, a lot of that gets dumbed down and tuned out because the very police officer that you may be telling this to could be bipolar. He could be a narcissist. You know too much for your own damn good. And a lot of times it won't work out for you. You'll soon find out and you'll be very confused saying, man, how did they get that out of that? And I'm calm about this. And the officer will be gaslighting you right in front of you. Now that you recognize what gaslighting looked like, the officer, because you think that they're there as peacemakers. A lot of times these narcissist law enforcement officers, they come there and they'll further gaslight you. So be mindful of that. So they came, they said what they had to say, and I think they told us we just gonna have to get along. If they have to come back out, blah blah. One of you guys need to go for a cool off period or whatever. You know what they tell you, and then they leave, and this will go on at least once or twice a week, maybe more. I don't even realize. I don't remember how much this happened, but it happened frequently. So much so till I don't know if I spoke to somebody about what I was going through with her, or no, I don't even know if I spoke to anybody, but I got a thought. Man, this girl's lying. She blatantly lies to the police. As soon as they come, she spins this narrative. And so something told me, go to Walmart and get a recorder. And that's what I determined to do. And I went in and I bought the best recorder they had. I bought a digital one. I didn't want to deal with, I don't even know if they had the cassettes at the time back in 2010. But I went and I got a digital one. And I got a nice digital one that automatically starts to record when it picks up voice. And I would carry that thing around, man. And I began to record her. And if it was something that didn't pop off as being a situation that I felt like I had to retain the audio, I would delete it and make space because this thing would load up quick. And so one particular time she went on this rant again and ended up calling the police again. It was like deja vu, robotic. Would go either I shut it down, I shut the conversation, and it wouldn't even be me being aggressive verbally. I would be just nonchalantly saying, I'm a grown man. You're not gonna make me shut up speaking my truth or saying what I have to say in regards to your conflict. And what I now know is she was trying to demean me, minimize my voice, and this is how verbal abuse is reversed on a man. And then when the police come, a woman oftentimes tries to pretend that it is you. Because in the gaslighting, they work you up and amp you up. So by the time the police get there, you are jacked up. You are full of emotion. You are standing and talking with a firm voice because you're standing up for yourself. But in the narrative, in the 3D, it looks like just what she has alleged. And so this happens a lot, man. And it's so pervasive and it's so deceiving because it plays into the narrative. So anyway, they get there and I calmly, one of the cops or both of them recognized me from my 6-year ordeal of custody battle with the twins' mom. So a lot of this paid to my advantage because I was already indicated and a lot of these officers recognized me when they would come on scene and they know I was a peaceable guy. You know, Calvin will speak what he speaks, he will say what he believes, and he will not hold back what he believes is the truth. I was very verbal, so they understood that, but I wasn't violent. And so I cordially pointed towards the outside, and I said, you got to talk to me separate from her, because I knew the protocol. And he's like, yeah, step out. And so as we stepped out in the hallway area, I did like this. I said, shh, and I couldn't contain my laughter. And I say, and I showed him the tape recorder, and he act like we were two little, boy kids, like, oh, you got something. And so he went further out. He grabbed the recording, he started listening, and it was just really funny because he thought he had found a buried treasure. Oh man! So he began to listen to it, and he listened to about 2 or 3 minutes of it. He looked up at me and he said, and so it was crazy. So and he's like, he did like this. It's like, we're gonna go back in. So we went back in, and I forget what really happened. I think we just stood in there for a few minutes, and he began to speak to her and say, well, situation here, obviously, you two can't get along or agree to anything today until cool off. He said, one of you guys is going to have to leave. And I told him, I said, oh, yeah, I will leave. Threw my hands up. I said, I'll leave. That ain't a problem. And so I looked at her, and you could tell that she had nothing to go on from that point. She was almost confused because that officer devised a solution to which she hadn't anticipated that. She was hoping that I would go to jail so she could leverage that, so she could put me in my little cage, in my little timeout, to where I would have to call collect to depend on her to let me out of timeout. And this is sad, man. I studied this extensively, and it happens more than you men and women know. And so the important thing in making this video is you need to know when you're in these situations and take heed from the sins of another or the failures of someone else. Don't believe that it's not going to happen to you. That's a big deception, that you think that you're going to figure it out and you're going to navigate around it, when men that came before you or women that have gone before you didn't figure it out until after the fact. And you find yourself picking the pieces up. And so I think after this situation, I left, and eventually I ended up going to the rescue. After this situation, I believe I checked myself into the rescue mission, and that's where I began to stay up into the point of being called to where I live now by my landlord, who asked me to come and oversee the apartment that I live in now upstairs, and to be like pretty much the groundskeeper and take care of the maintenance on the house, and just live here, pay rent, and he would subsidize some of the things that I did in order to make it work for me. And at that time, I didn't have custody of my kids. This is the only residence that my kids have ever known. And that's why I'm so hard pressed to try to find a new venture for us. Start new. As you guys know, I've been thinking about obtaining my own home. And where I worked at before I got fired, I had a strong potential to get, well, not just a strong, it was an absolute It would have been an absolute done deal. At this point in which I'm speaking now, I would have been in my own home. I would have been in my own home paying a mortgage with just half of 1 week's pay. You know, I was set to go on to make six figures at this job easily, and it didn't happen that way. So this is the totality of what you deal with when you deal with someone up front, giving them a hand up, and they end up getting the upper hand with you, because it doesn't always pan out like you perceive it to be. It's just a lot of deception, a lot of illusions. And I just think the one big problem of it all stems from narcissistic personality disorder. I don't think there's any other disorder that trumps narcissist. All those other disorders that people want to speak about, they have their place, but nothing destroys lives, careers, businesses, friendships, relationships of any kind as worse as a narcissist. Hands down, they do a number on people. They do a number on society. And at some point or another, I believe there's going to be a stop put to it, and there's going to be an instant stop put to it. COVID was just an appetizer. Only God knows what the next wave of reckoning will be. And so from this video, guys, I hope you intensely scrutinize how you move with people, and when they become toxic to any degree, you must find yourself an exit. That being said, bless.